Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Thursday's lesson. Today we are going to produce our first analytical response to Romeo and Juliet. So before we get into it, can you please pause the video and jot down the title, date and the LO before coming back to the video? Okay, now it's time to complete the do now. Please make sure that you answer the 5 following questions in 4 sentences. Even number 1, you can leave that and just write the list of adjectives to describe Romeo. Remember, with a focus on 1.1. Pause the video and come back when you've completed these 5 questions fully. Okay, now we should be in a position to make our purple pen corrections. So please pause the video and read through these answers, making any corrections. I recommend that if you see an adjective for question 1 on the screen that you haven't jotted down, I would add that. The more adjectives you have down, the more useful revision your do nows become. Pause the video and come back when you've made your corrections. Okay, so today, like I said, we are looking at our first analytical response to Romeo and Juliet. As it's our first time analysing Romeo and Juliet, I am going to write a paragraph and then you are going to write a paragraph. But the particular focus of our paragraph is going to be on methods and the analysis of methods. I've noticed that our analysis of methods is good, but there is a way that we can make it more concise and clear. So, when we read Act 1, Scene 1, we encountered these methods: allusion, oxymorons, and imagery. There is a way that we can analyse these in a paragraph to make it very, very clear and thorough. So step 1, how does the method or device work? For example, if it is a metaphor, you know that a metaphor is a comparison between 2 things, and you need to explain that. Step 2, what does this suggest about the character or theme? Okay, so you said there's a metaphor that compares X to Y, but why is that used? What does it tell us about the particular character or theme that we are analysing? Step 3, how does this link to your overall point? Your paragraph always starts with an overall idea, so what is the significance of analysing this in relation to your point? As I said, I'm going to write a paragraph for you today, and my paragraph is going to be focused on the allusion in Act 1, Scene 1 to Cupid and Diana. And I'm going to show you how that looks now. Can you please pause the video and come back when you have jotted down the title? So as you can see today, I'm going to be analysing the attitude to love. And that's what we looked at as well, reading through Act 1, Scene 1. And I'm going to use the new structure with a 2-idea sentence. You might notice that some of the bottom steps are missing, the link and the author's message. The reason for me missing those steps out is that we haven't read enough of the text for you to be able to make an appropriate or relevant link, and we haven't looked at author's message yet. So for today, we're just going to focus on these 4 steps, particularly on analysis of method. So I'm going to type out my paragraph now. So when we start a paragraph, we always need to signify what time in the text we are talking about to indicate that there is a development. At the beginning of the play, and then I'm going to answer the question. Shakespeare presents... Don't do that. That is the error. That wasn't on purpose, by the way. That was a genuine slip of my finger. But we always need to make sure we spell Shakespeare right because people get it wrong all the time. Shakespeare's attitude to love as deeply passionate is my idea. Okay. And my quote. So I know my quote is going to be about Cupid and Diana. I'm going to talk to you about what your quote will be later, so don't worry. As always, I want to start my embedded quotation explaining what's happening. So I'm going to be very, very clear. When Romeo explains his unrequited love, by using unrequited here, I'm hitting the criteria on the mark scheme about subject terminology. When Romeo explains his unrequited love for Rosaline to Benvolio, he painfully, my tone word there, which I might come back to and analyse later, He painfully states that, my quote is, she'll not be hit with Cupid's arrow because she has Diane's wit. That's my embedded quote. Now my two-idea sentence. This not only exposes the sorrow and torment caused by unrequited love, again just referencing that term. That's idea one. Now my second idea, but further, this quote also allows me to understand kind of like Romeo's almost consumed by his feelings. So but further indicates how Romeo allows himself to be consumed by his emotions. And I'm going to explain both of those ideas in my analysis now. So I'm focusing on method analysis. This quote is an allusion, a reference to something. So I'm going to write Shakespeare's use of allusion here. Remember, that sophisticated beginning of our analysis instead of the use of or the allusion. Shakespeare's use of analysis here to compare Rosaline to Diana suggests. So I've explained what the method is. It is a comparison between Rosaline and Diana. Now I'm going to explain why that's important. It suggests my idea about Romeo's torment as a result of his unrequited love. Now I'm going to explain in a little bit more detail. He explains that Rosaline has not been hit by Cupid's arrow as, like Diana, and I said last time that she is a goddess of the hunt, which indicates that she has armor. Like Diana, the goddess of the hunt, she has wisely avoided falling in love, and so has retained her innocence, the idea that she is untouched by man. Now, I've explained the illusion in a lot of detail, but I still haven't linked that back to my idea that Romeo is deeply passionate about love. This is where I do that now. Romeo's references to mythology, we talked about mythology as well, indicate his passion. Now, this is me linking back for finding love, as it is an almost, I would say, like poetic description of his melancholy. So that is my method analysis. Look how much of my paragraph that takes up. So I've done one piece of analysis and I've analysed my methods, and I'm going to analyse, I think I'm going to analyse tone. We'll do that in green, I just want to make it really clear to you. So Romeo may have said this in a painful tone. I'm using the same tone word that I use for my embedded quote here. So this in a painful tone as he is, and I'm linking it back to my second idea, consumed by the fact that he cannot win over Rosaline. I've linked my tone to my idea, but now I need to explain it further. I'm just going to move this up slightly so I have a bit more room. I'm going to link it back to my paragraph focus about passion. So Romeo's evident passion for love. And we spoke about the fact that his passion for love may cause problems because he cannot regulate his emotions or think rationally. Romeo's evident passion for love may be his downfall, as it seems he becomes irrational when he is unlucky in love. And then I'm going to make a contextual link here. Last week we talked about the idea of male honour, and that a lot of the stereotypical Elizabethan men had that kind of like sexual boldness, and we had those very kind of explicit sexual jokes from the servants at the beginning of the text. So I'm going to reference that this is the opposite of the stereotypical Elizabethan man who is full of sexual bravado, which means boldness. We've looked at that as well. I think it's important here to notice that I've explained that the Elizabethan man needs to be full of sexual bravado, and as Romeo is not, and he becomes irrational when he is unlucky in love, that shows that potentially that's going to cause problems for him. So as you can see, I've done a lot of analysis here. My analysis is incredibly thorough. I've explained my method. I've also mentioned context. So it's very developed. So now it's your turn. You're going to write an analytical paragraph based on the, sorry, it says allusion quote or an oxymoron from the play. You're not going to do the allusion quote. You're going to either do an oxymoron or you're going to do the quote about the imagery that we jotted down and discussed last lesson. So that is your question, and make sure you remember to use a new structure and focus particularly on your analysis of methods. If you need to go back and have my paragraph on the screen, do that. If you need to go back to last lesson and look at our explanations of oxymorons and the imagery, then do that. Whatever you need to do to make this easier for you, please do it. Make sure once you've written your paragraph, you come back to the video. Pause the video and come back after you've written your paragraph. Okay, if you're back, that means you're ready to submit your work. I forgot to put this on the slide yesterday. Sometimes I forget, but just a reminder about how I want you to submit your work. Pause the video now. Make sure you submit your work before moving on, and I look forward to seeing you in our next lesson.